Let's get to the bottom of this one. Unspoken truths that I miss one.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kimberly with UnseenTwistedTruths, and today we are talking about mental health matters. And my co-host Rebecca.
Peace.
And then we have our guest speaker, Edward, the psychiatrist. I don't know. I apologize.
Licensed therapist.
Licensed
I'm not a
therapist.
psychiatrist.
Licensed therapist. So with statistics, we want to talk about depression. And I'll let you know about depression in 2022. More than 7% of adults are diagnosed with depression. They're people with ages 12 to 25. They have the highest rates of depression. Major depression disorders, commonly known as depression, is one of the most common mental disorders worldwide. Many different factors can contribute to a person's depression state, and depression is often overlapping diagnosed along with other medical conditions and or medical disorders. For post-stress disorders, I got a statistic on that. The lifetime prevalence of post-traumatic stress disorders, or PTSD, ranges from 6.1 to 9.2%. It's a national samples of the general adult population in the United States and Canada, with 1 year prevalence rates of 3.5 to 4.7. So it went up. It went up 6.7%. The suicide rate. Suicide is a leading cause of death in the United States, with 45,979 deaths in 2020. This is about one death for every 11 minutes. The number of people who think about or attempt suicide is even higher. That's my statistics.
Okay. Yeah. So those statistics, especially after the pandemic, in children and adults, probably the next studies is going to be way higher. Okay. So here's the thing about when you were saying
when I did do the statistics, though, I apologize. When I did do it, this is for to the date of this year.
Okay. Yeah. So it's
higher than it was last year.
Yeah. So it's more than likely it's going to be an increase as far as that. And so what you were saying, the number amount of people who are suicidal, have suicidal thoughts, it's a lot more than what people think. Okay. And so here's the thing about being a mental health clinician. Some people, it's their baseline, right? So some people, they constantly have suicidal thoughts. A concern is always, when you're having suicidal thoughts, tell someone, you can tell a family member, you can call the crisis line, you can get assessed at the ER, those kind of things. Those are always, buffers to when individuals experience suicidal thoughts, especially when you have a plan or intent. So that's when it becomes a concern. When a person's having suicidal thoughts and they have a plan, so they can say, hey, I'm feeling suicidal. So they may have been depressed, or they may have anxiety, and then they're having suicidal thoughts also with that. And they say, you know what? I have a plan to go down in the basement and grab a gun. Okay, that individual needs to be assessed. That's a concern right there. Or I have intent. So I don't have a plan mapped out, but I feel like I want to do it. And if that plan come across, then I may do it. That's also a concern. Okay. And then it's a concern, especially if they have both. So individuals suicidal, if they have a plan or intent, or a plan and intent, that's a concern. Individual that's just suicidal, if they can contract for safety, of course, we will, some outpatient treatment or like a partial hospital, something like that, to get them stable. And some individuals, it's just their baseline. As long as they can contract for safety, then they're fine. So, and that's also a concern too. So when individuals diagnose, or they're not diagnosed, but they're experiencing depression and anxiety, and it's coupled with the suicidal thoughts, plan intent, or plan and intent, then that's a concern. So, that's one of those things to where if you're experiencing that, call the crisis line, you can call 911, you can tell a family member, you can go to the nearest ER and they will assess you. Do that measure instead of having to deal with that by yourself. So that's just something else to kind of.
And I want to say, though, too, not to downplay on anything that you have said, but I also want to interject that the statistics are just the people that went and talked to somebody. Them are not the statistics of those people that think about it every day, or have those moods of just manic depressive every single day, and it eats them up. That is not in the statistics. And that happens a lot to a lot of different individuals that don't speak on it.
Right. And that's the reason to where if you're experiencing that, then it's good to talk with someone, because everything is not reported, right?
Yeah.
So we can look at the numbers, but we know pockets of people who they've never had mental health treatment. They've never been to therapy. They may be afraid of therapy. And that's one of the things that, I promote, to where I think when individuals know the therapy process or what they may be looking at or experiencing, I think they deal with it a lot better.
And the reason why people are afraid to come out, because they think it's extreme and they think that they're going to be shunned and looked down upon, and they're going to lose everything they worked hard for because of a second of how they felt for a moment.
Right. I understand that. Y'all people concerned and say, hey, I don't want to go in because I don't want to lose my kids. And that's the thing
Yes,
to
for
where,
sure.
it's individuals who go in inpatient and family watch the children, they get stabilized and they're out and they're good to go. And so, inpatient hospitalizations, that's not for like months. That's not what that's meant for. It's meant for a brief stay. Now, individuals could be there for weeks, depending on symptoms and what's going on, but inpatient is usually for a couple of days to get an individual back to what we call their baseline, to where they can function and live their lives again. That's what that's made for.
So what are the steps? And we're thinking of talking to someone, and they refer us to see you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you look at that, it's like different levels of treatment. Okay, you look at it like that. So when you get like the outpatient treatment, that's like, hey, I'm struggling, I got some problems, but I can talk it out and learn some coping skills and that kind of thing. So that's like the bottom level of things. That's where a lot of people will function at. Like, I'm just struggling with things in a home. I'm struggling with my anxiety. I'm struggling with my depression. I'm not suicidal or nothing like that. I could be, but I don't have a plan or intent. So it doesn't warrant any type of hospitalizations. I can work on this outpatient level. Okay. When an individual say they call the crisis line and suicidal, may have a plan or something, I go get assessed at the ER. It may be recommendations to everybody thinks that I immediately get thrown in inpatient. That's not how that works. So it's different levels to different type of treatment. So just because an individual is suicidal, that doesn't mean they go to inpatient. Okay. A lot of things play a part, whether they have a history, their intent, whether they have a plan, that kind of thing. And you have different types of treatment. You have like partial hospitals to where you go several times during the week, and you have groups and you have medication treatment. And it's not inpatient. You go home at the end of the day. You may attend for a couple times a week until you get stable. That's called like partial. You have intensive outpatient to where most of the time you'll see your therapist weekly starting out, and then when you're getting better, you'll see them twice a month, and then when you're more stable, you'll see them once a month, which we call like a maintenance stage of care. But if you are like, I'm suicidal, I'm not going to hurt myself, I don't have no plan or intent, but I just can't shake this, you have intensive outpatient to where you can have outpatient several times a week. It's more intense. And then you have things like residential to where kind of like a couple days, and every county is different, but you have a couple days where you stay at a facility to get stabilized and you're discharged. And then you have inpatient to where it's more so the inpatient hospital, and you may be there 2 or 3 days, you may be there 2 weeks, you could be there a month. Just depends on what it is. Depends on your symptoms and what's going on. And then you kind of have like state hospital for individuals who they may not have guardians. Their mental health history is like 40 years, nothing is working, that kind of thing. So it's different levels. So a lot of people think I immediately just thrown into inpatient, and it doesn't work like that. It's assessments for each level for that.
So what people need to do is reach out, talk to somebody, let somebody know that you're not feeling right. Be aware of it though. Don't blame other people and just think that it's other people causing it. Be mindful of yourself. Do a self-evaluation and really look within yourself and see that you need to talk to somebody because it's not right. And you're not alone and you're not going to be judged. And if you're afraid to go see a psychiatrist or a therapist, then talk to a friend, talk to a stranger, just talk to somebody. Don't take it upon yourself and just end your life because you're worth it. You have so much out there and you have so much to offer. So get help, reach out. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I wish you nothing but peace and love.
Wow, it's so hard to reflect on all the juice life taught you. It's on you, tell the truth.